Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA. And we're just about to enter full-fledged football season. But for people who are in fantasy football and all those kind of things, you're already out there planning. Yeah, you're getting your teams picked. You probably have your drafts and all that good stuff going on, right? With us this morning is a gentleman who's a CEO of My Employees and author of Built to Lead to talk about the amount of time you're spending at work on fantasy football. And we're talking about David Long, who joins us this morning here on the Gary Sutton Show. David, an honor to have you on the show.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
David, you read these articles, and I'm reading this one that was done by Challenger Gray and Christmas. It's a Chicago-based outplacement consultancy. They said this year, fantasy football may cost employers more than $13 billion in lost productivity. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's, $13 billion. That's only 1% of the $1.5 trillion in wages paid out during the same period last year. And yet, we're talking about some real lost wages here. Now, again, they say there's no way to predict totally that this is absolutely correct. But it's certainly a number that has to be dealt with, right, if you're an employer?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You should obviously keep your people so busy they don't have time to do that.
There's one way of looking at it. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to guess you're probably not a fantasy football player, right?
No, not really.
Okay. David, one of the...
But I have friends, my employees that like it, but I should say a few of them, they're actually, one of them's an ex-employee because apparently he was playing too much.
Yeah.
He was fantasizing too much and not doing it in the real world. Let's just say that.
There are a lot of people who say, well, you know what, on the other side of the coin, I'll play devil's advocate for a moment. You have people who email and text during the day and do all that other social stuff, Facebooking. What's wrong with this? I mean, it's a little harmless fun. And I was reading this article that said, well, it gets improved employee morale, increased interdepartmental communication, better customer relations. Maybe you join a customer's fantasy football team. It sounded kind of lame to me, frankly, those excuses to come back and say, we don't have anything else we can talk about. But fantasy football will be a great conversation opener.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, obviously people love sports. Sports is the number one thing people go as a spectator. That's why they call it spectator sport. People go there. It's where masses amount of people hang out. They love sports. Everybody watches it on weekends or whenever the games are on. Most football, obviously, is on the weekends, but basketball is anytime. But people love sports. Yes, it's always an easy conversation opener. Sports is the best.
There's a place for that kind of conversation when you're at work. I mean, you can gab with people and so forth. Where do you draw the line, though, David? You work with a lot of people, and you've observed this a lot. You've studied it a lot. Where do you draw the line in terms of where productivity meets the social behavior of people from outside at work?
Well, first of all, whatever you expect, you inspect. And we know basically at our company, we have roughly 45 employees here. We have 12,000 clients across the U.S. and Canada, so we have a lot of people to take care of. So we basically have what each person in our company basically has their own P&L. We know how much profitability there is and all that based on what they are expected to do every month. We have metrics that we keep up with, at least 5 metrics per department every day, so we know exactly how much time they're wasting if they're not doing their job. Let's just say that.
Now, do they have to basically provide you with the report each day or something like that in terms of making sure you know what they're doing, or is there another way that you accumulate this information?
It's done automatically in most cases.
Huh.
Yep, because we don't have to rely on them because people have short memories. You know that.
Oh, yeah, I understand that.
So, that's automatic in most cases here.
I guess I'm looking at this, the new atmosphere of business some people want to talk about. And this atmosphere includes, I can work all this other stuff into on my day. I'm a multitasker. I can, answer a text over here. And yet I watch people just in having a conversation anymore where someone's in the middle of a text or something, or someone is inspecting their offering on Twitter or whatever it might be, and they're breaking away from you. And I won't even converse with people who are doing that because I think it's the most dull-mannered thing in the world. And
it is.
So it kind of tears away from the whole idea you can multitask, because I don't think you generally can when you're involved in that kind of stuff.
I agree wholeheartedly. Matter of fact, there's even books that are coming out now that are talking about the multitasking is a lie. The most successful people I know, and I do this exact same thing myself. I will take the beautiful thing about these smartphones we have now is they have a wonderful little thing called a timer. Mm-hmm. And I set that thing for an hour and I turn it off. I hit the vibrate. Nobody could call me. And I will sit there for an hour, and I will do one specific thing. And I will not be distracted, unless it's an emergency, obviously that's different.
Right.
But I will not be distracted. It's called time chunking. And when you're focused, you get so much more done. If you're trying, it's almost like the guy who, you remember way back when they did the vaudeville shows or whatever, they had the plate spinner guys.
Uh-huh.
You know, they're running back and forth. You know, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, you're keeping the pie plate spinning the whole time, and then by the time you get the one at the end spinning, the one at the other end starting to wobble, and you run back and do that. Yeah.
And all the time you're having the most of your plates are not spinning properly. The same with your employees, and same with the tasks that you have to get done. You cannot focus when you have that many distractions and that many things you are trying to do at one time. It is not productive at all.
You know, it's amazing to me how we want to change definitions. We have these things like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and texting, and we say, well, we do that a lot out here. And we know you're paying us to do a job, but geez, can't we somehow integrate that in? And, you know, we're playing fantasy football out here. We're talking about it all the time. Isn't there some way I could, work that in here a little bit? It's like we want to tear down the basic rule that's simply this. If I'm working for you and you're paying me to do a job, then by God, that's what I should be doing during the time I'm here. In that job, isn't it? It doesn't say I can't say hi to people or mention something on the way by, but I'm responsible for having a certain amount of work done each day. In my business, for example, if I don't have my show done for a 3-hour period today, I got problems tomorrow. I probably have problems today. I won't even get to tomorrow yet, but I have a tangible thing I have to put out there, and I have very little time, I find, to do anything but my job when I'm here at the station. Now, when I'm at home, gathering information, watching the news, reading books, and so forth, that's on my turf. But it's still, I've got to have that ready. Otherwise, my job's not going to get done.
Absolutely. Now, I will say this. In the workplace today, employment law basically says for like every 3 hours that you work, you get like a 15-minute break.
Right.
So you're getting time to do those things. You're getting time to go say hello to an office mate or, someone in another department or that type of thing. Plus you got lunch.
Right.
I mean, it's not like people are driving people crazy, driving like a slave driver. I mean, you get those breaks. If you're working a place like that, then you need to go work somewhere else if you can. But that's what you have to do. So you have times when you can do your fantasy football. You have times when you want to go talk to somebody, but it should not be a distraction to the other person. You're making them become unproductive as well if you're doing that on a randomly timed basis where you just go out and start harassing people, though you don't see it that way, but you're breaking them up and stopping them doing what they tried to do.
You just started a domino effect of non-productivity, right?
Absolutely.
You're the CEO, of course, and we're talking with David Long, the CEO of My Employees and author of Built to Lead. I was reading the report here, and this said this firm that did the report, this Challenger Gray and Christmas, estimated that 22.3 million employed people spend at least an hour a week managing or tweaking their rosters while they're at work. Wow. At an average hourly wage of about $19.33, a stat from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Challenger predicts that fantasy football costs businesses $430.9 million per week in lost productivity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible stuff. So you're an employee, you're a CEO. Obviously, you've got your hand on the pulse of where your people are. What's kind of the rule of thumb you use with your people, not only maybe on fantasy football, but on other things related to that might be more social in nature that maybe should be done elsewhere?
Well, one thing we do is we don't micromanage. That's a mistake.
Okay.
Nobody stands over anybody. But they, as I said earlier, they have a certain amount. We know what the typical day that we expect from each person in each department within the company. There are other people also doing that same job. So if you are at the bottom all the time, I stole a line from ethically stolen from Biggest Loser. You do not want to fall below the yellow line and stay down there all the time.
Right.
Because if you're perpetually at the bottom, you need to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And if you are the type person that you're spending too much time goofing off, then that will hurt you, not only in the short term, but in the long term as well.
I also read some time ago where someone said, if you're the bottom, there's nowhere to go but up. But you got to walk. You got to walk and believe it to do it.
That's true.
And you can't just lie there and look at it. If you're constantly looking at nowhere to go but up, and you're always on the bottom, time to get out of the firm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to take this a little further though with you. You wrote this book, Built to Lead. Mm-hmm. You're a leader. You're a CEO of your business. You're a motivated person.
Yes.
How do you improve? How do you keep employee morale up? How do you increase communication among your people? How do you get better customer relations if fantasy football isn't your vehicle to do that?
Yeah. I will tell you what has literally put, and my CPA can vouch for this, millions of dollars into the company coffers, if you will, and my income based on this one thing I'm about to tell you, and it's called the book club. Most people, when they think of book club, they think back to elementary school when you had 6 people around a table. That's not what I'm talking about. Our book club, in essence, is I buy books for each of my 45 employees. And we all buy the same book, and I say, here, read this chapter by next Wednesday at 10 o'clock or Thursday at 10 o'clock. We divide the company, 22 or so people in each group, Wednesday morning or Thursday morning. And we meet with them, and we all discuss what was in that chapter. And I started this about a decade ago. And man, oh man, that is, we all have different histories. We all have different lives. We all read the same chapter, but everybody got a lot of different things. So we discuss that, and we get to know each other by our stories of our lives based on what we read. Was on personal finance. So everybody got to tell us about, man, I paid off my college loans, after what I learned from here, from working at our company. We read Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I bought everybody a copy of that. We read it. I had 2 employees come up to me privately after that and tell me this book saved my marriage. I think we'll agree that if employees are happy at home, they're a lot happier here. And that's what we do. I pay them an hour every week to be in that room. And people would say, well, Dave, I don't want to spend that. That's a lot of wasted time. No, it's not. I'm constantly sharpening, as Abraham Lincoln said, is if I have 7 hours, I think it was, to cut down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 4 sharpening my axe. Well, I sharpen my people every week here in the book clubs.
That's really neat. And then, so it really kind of covers all 3 of those. I mean,
it does.
You're going to increase employee morale. You're going to be talking with them and with them, not at them, because it sounds like everybody has a chance to kind of open up and say, hey, here's where I'm at. And it sounds like with a different assortment of subjects that you have there, that really encourages that even more. And I would think ultimately, just as a natural byproduct, you'll have better customer relations down the road, right?
Absolutely. Zig Ziglar said, you build your people and your people build the company.
So no fantasy football going on there right now at My Employees, right?
Not really, no.
Not if you want to keep being a My Employees associate. David, thank you so much. I know you're running to another interview, but I really appreciate you on short notice joining us this morning. Really in-depth stuff, and I like it.
I greatly appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
We'll do it again some other time. Thanks again. David Long, CEO of My Employees and author of Built to Lead. While you probably don't want to be in his firm and be playing fantasy football while you're at work. I don't know if any of you do that or not, but, probably not a good idea if you're there.